The governance of organizations encompasses all the mechanisms that define the discretionary space of the leader, or in other words, what governs their conduct. There are various mechanisms, for example, the board of directors, the General Assembly, financial audits, the bylaws, but also the market for corporate control and others. These mechanisms serve as a real counterbalance in relation to the leader's capacity for action. Governance mechanisms potentially have different functions, and they operate through these functions. They influence the organization's performance and the satisfaction of its various stakeholders. The function that has historically received the most attention in governance analyses is the so-called disciplinary function. According to this disciplinary approach, the main role of governance would be to impose discipline on leaders in order to safeguard the legitimate interests of the organization's various stakeholders, especially shareholders in the case of a company. This is referred to as the shareholder disciplinary approach to governance. However, this is not the only possible disciplinary approach, because the management of interests can also be conceived in service of a multitude of stakeholders. This is then referred to as the stakeholder disciplinary approach. The disciplinary approach to governance is at the heart of Jensen and McLean's agency theory. Complex organizations are indeed characterized by possible divergences of interest between the leader and the various stakeholders, such as shareholders, employees, and others, as well as by a certain information asymmetry between the actors. In this context, an agency conflict may arise, which can lead to value-destroying costs. Thus, a self-interested manager could, under certain conditions, be tempted to appropriate a portion of the value created by the company to the detriment of shareholders and/or other stakeholders. According to the disciplinary approach, governance mechanisms serve to increase organizational performance by reducing agency costs in two ways. Either by reducing information asymmetry, for example, statutory audits of accounts serve this purpose, or by trying to avoid conflicts of interest as much as possible. For example, through boards of directors composed of a majority of independent directors. Saying that governance plays a disciplinary role implies that these mechanisms operate either through incentives to align interests or through monitoring to manage information. However, observing organizational life shows that discipline through managing conflicts of interest is not the only role that can be played. A governance mechanism. There is also a cognitive function of governance, but that will be covered in another video.